Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel here, and let's just add another video to the personal logs here. Here we are up to number 74 here. I'm going to be talking about that I've been carless since 2011 here. Yeah, I'm one of those people that doesn't own a vehicle, and it's been almost 9 years since I haven't had a car here, and there's various reasons why I don't have one. Obviously, it's tough to afford one here, especially when everything keeps getting more expensive here to not only own a car, but then you have to operate it and maintain it here. And also the fact that, these tough, uncertain economic times, I don't have the economic confidence to make such an investment there, but some people just look at me weird, like, how do you manage? You don't have a car. Well, I use public transit in the big city here, and that's definitely one way to get around here. And if I need to haul something huge, I can either get it delivered or I can always rent a vehicle, because I always rent a vehicle if I needed to, obviously go away on a trip here. But I'm thinking I'm slowly getting to the point here that, for much of the time, because you could say I've had a driver's license, a Class 5 here in Alberta, for over 20 years. But of those 20 years, I think I've only owned a car maybe 5 of those years, because it was 1999 that I got my license there. And the one question I would answer to if someone asked me what was your first car here, well, my first car was a 1989 Chrysler Dynasty there, bought off of a 89-year-old that made the decision that I'm not going to drive anymore. And I was a 19-year-old guy at the time there, and I drove that car, and eventually it broke down on me like 6 months later, and just couldn't afford to replace the engine there. And the fact that I was more worried about school and that, and insurance was killing me, that I only had that for 6 months. And then it wasn't until a couple years later that I got a 1997 Ford Escort, and it was a station wagon there. And that car has definitely served me well for 4 or 5 years when I was driving it there. But then ultimately I had to sell that back in 2011 there, as it was a 15-year-old car. It was still running fine, but it was definitely costing me too much to keep it running fine there. I sold it to a former coworker that needed a second car that wasn't going to take on long drives anymore, and I wasn't comfortable taking that thing on long drives anymore. The straw that broke camel's back was I took it on a Kelowna trip, spring trip back in 2011 there, and then suddenly you hear something whining when you start it up there, and I wound up cutting that trip short and took it back there, and it was a sign that the alternator was about to go there. And I was after, I spent over $2,000 on placing shocks and struts and an engine mount there. So yeah, definitely since then, because I sold it because it was just before the time when I was up to renew my license for the year there, and I just figured, well, if I don't drive as much anymore, because it got to the point there that, I'm also a fair weather driver. I don't drive in the winter time, because I'm not comfortable driving in the winter time, and it seems like half people that drive in the winter time shouldn't be driving either there, so I don't want to be on the road with that and deal with that and the frustration and slower traffic there. That, I just haven't had a car since 2011 there, and it looks like I'm not going to be getting a car anytime soon here. And then the fact that I always take transit to and from work there, because you work somewhere where parking is very expensive, and Calgary has like the most expensive parking in North America there with New York here. It doesn't make economic sense to insure, maintain, and operate the car, regardless if you drive it just to church to and from Sunday or to and from Vancouver every weekend. You're still got to insure it there. And the fact that it doesn't make sense. It's like you're paying all that, then you got to pay some more to park that thing. I mean, unless you have an employer that would be willing to pay for some or all your parking there, but then that'd be a case, that you use that you're costing them more money there. But it just doesn't make economic sense for me to have a car here, especially when cost of living keeps rising, but the pay doesn't. That you got to make decisions there, and it's more economical for me to rent a car whenever I need one or need to go on a trip here. But even then, I'm slowly. I just find myself not enjoying driving as much there because of the stress of other people on the road and weather, or how well is the car going to last. I mean, hopefully with a car rental that you won't have any car trouble there, and that's the one beauty of renting a car, is that I don't have to worry about all that. And if the unforeseen happens there, I'm sure the car rental industry will be bending over backwards and kissing my what to still do business with them if anything happens to their vehicle while I rented it that was a mechanical problem. But I'm slowly embracing using options to take the bus here, and it's definitely been a lot more challenging without Greyhound here because flying, I mean, domestically is just too expensive. It's especially when I try to go to Grey Cups here, and if I'm within the Western Division there, I try to take the bus, or if I'm just a province or a city over, I'm going to start embracing taking the bus, because when you think about it, I mean, it's less stressful there. And I know Red Arrow that's how I got to and from Edmonton for the 106 Grey Cup there in 2018 there, and you could say Red Arrow was kind of the first class for motor coach, and definitely love their service there. But as long as you have a bus and you get transferred there and have a place to do your business, or you take some breaks there to walk around and stretch your legs for a bit. I mean, I just think it doesn't make economic sense for me to have a car anymore, and that's why I'm one of those, you could say, one of those freaks that hasn't owned a car for almost 9 years, believe it or not. And it just doesn't make economic sense, and the economy hasn't been too good here for many years. And that's why younger people these days aren't buying cars, because we just can't afford it when the cost of living keeps rising, but our cost of schooling rising and pay doesn't rise. I mean, how the heck are we supposed to have these things that previous generations had? So yeah, that's just my personal vlog on Ive Been Carless since 2011 there. So as I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along, as I want to continue growing on this platform here. I mostly do Calgary sports, where I talk about stories, game recaps, or anything else of interest there. But I also do personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I share my experiences. Let's say I'm at a sporting event or on the road there. For example, if I rent a car and went on the road there and share something, there's many of those on my YouTube channel. So if that all sounds like you'd be interested in watching, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, just make sure you hit like, subscribe there. And as I'll say, I'll see you in the next video.